Hello everyone and welcome to the last of the current Apple Teacher Monday sessions for this term. My name is Marti O'Neill and I'm part of Glasgow's Create team. Today we're going to be focusing on GarageBand for iPad, and I plan to give you an overview of GarageBand as well as looking at a project which you can try out in class with your students. Feel free to put any questions you might have into the group chat and I'll do my very best to answer them all. You can, of course, always email me any questions you may have too. Okay, let's jump right in and open the app on our iPad. We'll go ahead and click on Create Song to start a new project. One of the first things we need to do is explore our sound library. And this lets us download and install extra instruments, sounds and loops. And as you can see, just as I'm scrolling through here, there's all sorts of different packs available. The one that we're going to need for today is the Percussionists pack. So just tap on the pack and hit install, and that should only take a few seconds or so to download and install. The good thing is they don't take up too much space on the iPads. So as you can see, if we click on manage packs here up in the top left hand corner and scroll through, we can see exactly how much space each of these packs is taken up. I've installed all of them on my iPad and the total space is not significant enough for me to be worried about how much space it's taken up. Once you're finished, just hit done. Let's swipe now over to the keyboard instrument and tap on the large keyboard icon. One quick tip I want to share with you is to enable keyboard note labels, and this is very handy if either you or your students are unfamiliar with notes on the piano keyboard. So click the home button, open settings and scroll down until you find GarageBand on the left hand side. On the right hand side then you'll see lots of options. Scroll down until you see keyboard note labels. Go ahead and enable that. And once we switch back to that, we can see that all the notes on the keyboard are now labelled. Let's just familiarise ourselves with the navigation. On the top left hand corner, we've got the little document icon. That takes you to your songs browser, and pressing that will save the song you're currently working on. And then from there you can create a new song or you can share the song. The next icon along is our sound browser, and tapping this allows you to switch between different touch instruments as well as access the voice recorder and the live loops grid. Next to that we have our tracks view, and this lets you toggle between the current touch instrument screen that you can see and the overview of all the tracks that you have in your song. The fourth icon along is track controls, and that will open the track controls for the currently selected track. Further along we've got the undo button, and pro tip, tap and hold on undo will enable redo. So if you've gone back too many steps and you want to redo something, just tap and hold until it brings up redo. Next up is our transport controls, and this is basically where we can record, play, stop, rewind, and navigate our way through our track. To the right hand side of this then we have our master volume slider, and just to be aware, it's worth remembering that this controls the overall volume of all the tracks and not just the currently selected track. So that will turn the entire song up or down. Next to that we have our metronome. By default it will give you 4 clicks counting before your recording starts. You might want to switch off when playing back tracks and only enable for when you're actually recording. Now we'll just look at the settings button where we can make a lot of changes to our song. When you tap on this, you're presented with a lot of sub-menus. The first one we will look at is tempo. Within tempo, we can manually adjust the number of beats per minute by directly inputting that number, or we can tap our tempo on the left hand side, which is a great feature if you're not sure of how many beats per minute you're looking for. Okay, let's tap on the settings again, and this time we're going to look at the time signature. Within time signature, we have three different options, and those options are 4/4, 3/4, and 6/8, and that simply refers to the number of beats in each bar. Let's tap again on settings, and this time we're going to choose key signature. By default, our song will be in C major, but as you can see, you can go ahead and choose any key you like. The last icon along the top of the screen is the help button, which is very handy and will bring up information on all of the different elements of the user interface. So just below that is a plus icon, and that allows us to manage the different sections of our song. So if, for example, you wanted to split your song into intro, verse, chorus, bridge, etc., you can do all of that here, and then you can use the sections feature to rearrange parts of your song into a different order or duplicate sections as well. Okay, we're going to move down just above our keyboard, and on the left hand side we have the octave selector. Tapping on the arrows on either side of this will either raise or lower the current octave. Next to that is the sustain switch, which behaves the same as a regular sustain pedal on a piano. Simply tap and hold to sustain for as long as you would like. You can also tap and swipe to the right to lock the sustain until you switch it off again. Next to that we have our glissando and scroll switch. When this is in the glissando position, the keyboard is of a fixed position and will not move if you slide your finger up and down the keyboard to perform a glissando. If it's in the scroll position, you can move the keyboard up and down just by holding a key and dragging left or right. Next up is the scale selector, and this will just transform the keyboard into the notes of the scale that you choose. So for example, if you wanted to just have a pentatonic scale with the 5 notes, then that would just display those 5 notes for you. Next up is the keyboard layout, and you can adjust the iPad to display 1 or 2 keyboards here, and you can also adjust how many keys are shown on the screen at a time. So depending on your own dexterity, you might find, like myself, it's much easier to play with the wider key to help increase accuracy. The next feature we'll look at is the arpeggiator button. By enabling this, you can automatically play chord notes in a specific sequence. The last icon takes us into chord mode. This turns the instrument into a smart instrument where we can play entire chords with one finger. There's an autoplay function as well, which has ready-made patterns based on the chord strip that's selected. There are 4 autoplay patterns. However, if you tap the chord strip with 2 fingers instead of 1, GarageBand will give you a variation of the autoplay pattern that's currently selected. Tap the chord strip with 3 fingers to hear yet another variation. That's a total of 12 different patterns for each instrument. Okay, it's time to record. In Primary 7 this year, a lot of students have worked on Mambo from West Side Story. This was one of the BBC's 10 pieces. And we're going to use this piece for our project by recording the melody and some of the Latin rhythms used by Leonard Bernstein. I'm going to purposely play this slightly out of time with the metronome, and we can then explore some of the editing features within GarageBand to try and tidy or fix our performance. Okay, let's get editing. Switch to tracks view and then tap twice on the green track itself and choose edit. This brings us into the piano roll editor, and within the piano roll editor we have horizontal lines showing the time position of the notes while vertical lines indicate pitch. Tap a note to cut, copy, delete or change the velocity, or you can simply drag to a new pitch or even a different time. Let's see how our melody sits against the grid. So slightly out of time, as we can see, some notes are ahead, some notes are behind. What we're going to do now is use a feature called quantization, and to quantize we have to tap again on our track menu and then go to settings, and we can see here we've got this option for quantization. I'm going to go ahead and choose swing and 16th, so 1/16 swing light, and then we're going to listen to how that sounds. So quantizing can be really helpful if your timing isn't perfect. It moves your notes to the nearest predetermined value on the grid. So if you set your quantization to 16th notes or semiquavers, it would move it to the nearest semiquaver. If, as in this case, we're a little early or late, it can be useful for tightening up multiple tracks so they fit well together rhythmically, but do experiment with different values. It's worth noting that although it's great for tidying up messy performances, it can make things too even and sometimes just a little unnatural, almost clinical. Okay, now we're happy with our piano part. Let's add in the percussion tracks. Choose the plus icon at the bottom left and swipe to drums. Go ahead and tap on the snare drum icon. By default, it will load the SoCal patch. Tap on SoCal to change it, and we're going to use the Latin percussion kit for this next part of our song. First rhythm we're going to add is going to be on the claves, and that is we are going to dance the Mambo. Once you're happy with that, we'll move on to the second rhythm, and this one is I love to mambo when it is hot. And lastly, our third rhythm is Mambo, Mambo, how I love you so. Now we're going to add on some live percussion, and you can do this with any instrument, really, any classroom instruments. Go ahead and create a new track, and we're going to choose audio recorder this time, and we'll use the built-in mic on iPad. And obviously we could be adding vocals to this or any other instrument, but for this case I'm just going to go ahead and use a simple egg shaker. And this is what the audio recorder looks like. We can see it's set on studio just now rather than the fun effects. The thing that's important for us is the input settings. If you tap on the little icon here, we need to make sure that automatic gain is on, and that'll just prevent it from clipping or overloading the input. You can manually adjust this, but for the purposes of what we're doing just now, it's probably best to leave it on automatic. So go ahead and use the iPad microphone and try recording some audio to go along with our Mambo piece. Here's my finished recording. Once you're finished your track, you can use the track controls here to finally balance your mix and adjust any panning, as well as using plugins and EQ to tweak the sound to your liking. We can also make use of GarageBand's automation feature, and we just tap twice on the instrument icon to reveal track menu and then choose automation. That will allow us then to draw in using the pencil tool. So it's just slide the pencil icon to the right, that switches to the automation draw mode, and this will give you much greater control over the track levels such as fade in and fade outs. I'm just going to go ahead and do some quick and rough and ready automation here, just to highlight how this feature works and let you see it in action here. Now that I've clicked done, you can see the faint outline of your automated levels just as an overview on top of the track view. Now that we're happy with our finished song, it's time to share that. So go ahead and click on the songs browser, and that will save our current song and open up the song browser. And then just go ahead and do a long press on the little thumbnail of your song and choose share. Select song, and then you can choose the format that you would like to use to export your song. Once you've decided the quality and format that you'd like to use, you can also add in the metadata for the song with the artist, composer, etc., and then hit share. Okay, so lastly, I would just like to share some accessories which I find really useful for using GarageBand on iPad. The first one is the Apple Lightning to USB 3 camera adapter. And this is essential for connecting any external USB peripherals such as MIDI keyboards, any external storage, thumb drives, hard drives, and even USB microphones if you're looking to add a high quality mic to your setup. The next thing is the 5-way multi-headphone splitter, and this is a great thing to have in class if you have multiple pupils working together on a song. It means that up to 5 people can monitor what they're doing at a time. And next thing is a powered USB hub, and that'll allow multiple USB devices to be connected to iPad simultaneously. So you could have an audio interface and a MIDI keyboard, and also it'll provide the power to those devices, which would draw more power than what the iPad can provide. Next, we have our USB MIDI keyboard, and this really gives you the benefit of playing the virtual instruments in GarageBand with a proper piano keyboard. And lastly, we have our external audio interface, and this allows you to connect external instruments such as electric guitar, bass guitar, etc. directly into iPad and record using GarageBand. Just to wrap up, I would definitely recommend, if you haven't already, download the Everyone Can Create Music on iPad guide. It's really packed full of great tips and projects, and is a great place just to get stuck into in developing your GarageBand skills. And good luck on your journey. Thanks for joining me today. Again, there's my details if you do have any questions at all. I hope this has been helpful. Stay safe and have a lovely summer break, everyone.